This is Michael Popok, Legal AF. We learned today Donald Trump's wallet is going to be lighter because he just got fined by the judge presiding over the fraud case in New York because Donald Trump already violated the gag order, a limited gag order put in place by Judge Engoron just on October the 3rd because he failed to take down from one of his major websites a continued social media attack and dox on Judge Engoron's principal law clerk. This is the same thing that got Donald Trump into major hot water with Judge Engoron just, less than 3 weeks ago. At the start of the trial. As soon as Donald Trump was at the trial for the first few days the last time, he decided to take to social media and go after one of Judge Engoron's major pieces of his staff, his principal law clerk, and make some ridiculous, misogynistic, hateful comments about her having some sort of relationship, all untrue, with Chuck Schumer, a senator, a Democratic senator, and posted her picture and details online on Truth Social. At the time, we believed it only existed on Truth Social, but now we know he had put that same doxing attack on Judge Engoron's staff in other places like DonaldTrump.com, which is a presidential campaign website. And so when Judge Engoron immediately slapped him on the October the 3rd with the limited gag order, he was told in no uncertain terms, Donald Trump, if you don't stop it and you violate my order, there's going to be consequences. Could be fines, could be jail time for contempt. Don't test me, is what Judge Engoron told him. Well, Donald Trump and his team, either because they're sloppy, lazy, stupid, or they just like to test the patience of judges who have their liberty and or financial well-being in their hands, screwed it up. And as reported in an exclusive right here on the MeidasTouch network, if you went over to DonaldTrump.com 3 weeks almost after the gag order was already in place, the attack on the law clerk was still sitting there, just burning a hole on the screen in complete violation. Let me make it simple for those that don't practice law like I do for a living. You get an order from a judge that tells you you just did something wrong and you're gagged from doing it again. You got to do a scrub of all your social media accounts, all the places where you've publicly done it, and you got to take it down. Now, he didn't make them certify that it would come down. I've seen judges sometimes do that, file an affidavit certifying that you've taken it down everywhere where it exists. And so for a long time, we thought, well, all right, well, Donald Trump is crazy, but he's not going to continue to test the patience of Judge Engoron and get maybe jail time for being in contempt. Is he? And then lo and behold, when the MeidasTouch research staff went over and reporters went over and took a look at DonaldTrump.com, they were shocked to find that the attack on the law clerk was still there as recently as like yesterday. Well, that reporting got to the attention of the judge and the New York Attorney General, and they had just today a breakout hearing about the issue where a very irate Judge Engoron said that there's already been a violation of his gag order, that it's up on the Trump campaign website 3 weeks after it should have been taken down, and he wanted answers. Now, Donald Trump was nowhere to be found because he's a coward and he doesn't go to this trial except what he needs to maximize his campaign media cycle type exposure. He treats this trial like a campaign stop. And so this one wasn't interesting to him, so he didn't bother going. Wasn't in the room. But Chris Keiss, his lawyer, has to stand up, and the best he could come up with when it was revealed was it was totally unintentional, Your Honor. There's a big machinery around Donald Trump, Chris Keiss said. There's a big machinery around, and he can't control all the levers of that machinery. Other people are in charge. And the judge said, your guy, especially when he's facing a gag order, has to control the levers of his own machine and be responsible for it. And so the Attorney General was arguing for, major sanctions here, which could progressively go all the way up to jail if the judge found him in willful contempt of his order. Judge took it under advisement. We figure based on Judge Engoron's, the velocity at which he makes rulings, that it would be sometime today. And we already have the ruling. And I'm going to read it to you. It's short but powerful and puts the whole world on notice about if Donald Trump makes one more false move, one more false move, he's going to get it. He's going to get it at the hands of this judge. So let's read now, or have me read. I guess that would be better, from Judge Engoron's decision today. So we got an order on non-motion, and it says, on October the 3rd, during a break in the trial, defendant Donald Trump posted to his social media account an untrue, disparaging, and personally identifying post about my principal law clerk. I spoke to defendants. This is the judge continuing in his order. Both on and off the record. That happens a lot in New York, by the way, in New York State Supreme Court. You go back to the judge's chambers, and a lot of conversation, sometimes without a court reporter on purpose present, takes place there. It's a little transactional, if you will. But the judge continues, off the record, meaning the court reporter was not present or was present in the chambers of the judge and was not recording the conversation. I ordered Donald Trump to remove the post immediately. Approximately 10 minutes later, Donald Trump represented to me, in other words, Donald Trump was in the courtroom at this time, that he had taken down the offending post and that he would not engage in similar behavior going forward. There's an example of the judge giving Donald Trump courtesy, right? He happened to have Trump there. Trump did it. And Trump in chambers or in the courtroom off the record said it was taken down immediately and it wouldn't happen again. I then, back to the judge in the order, I then, on the record, so he was off the record first, now on the record with the court reporter, imposed on all parties to this action a very limited gag order, quote, forbidding all parties from posting, emailing, or speaking publicly about any members of my staff, emphasizing quite clearly that, quote, personal attacks on members of my court staff are unacceptable, inappropriate, and I will not tolerate them under any circumstances. I further made clear that failure to abide by this directive will result in serious sanctions. No surprise, judges take grave offense at their staff being attacked. They're very protective, as you would imagine, of their own staff. The judge went on, turning to the issue at hand today with the violation, as reported by the MeidasTouch network, which ultimately that reporting made its way into the courtroom. Despite this clear order, this is the judge. Last night, I learned that the subject offending post was never removed from the website DonaldTrump.com. or DonaldJTrump.com, and in fact had been on that website for the past 17 days. In other words, when Donald Trump lied to the judge or was too lazy to confirm, when he told him that post had been taken down, it had not been taken down everywhere it was posted by or on behalf of Donald Trump, plain and simple. The judge went on to say, I understand it was removed late last night, but only in response to an email from this court, meaning the court or the court clerk put out an email to the parties advising them of the information, and I'm sure calling for a hearing immediately this morning, for which Chris Kise was trying to get prepared to argue as to why Donald Trump should not be found in contempt, fined, and or jailed. The judge went on in his order. Today in open court, meaning with the public there and with the court reporters present, counsel for Donald Trump stated that the violation of the gag order was inadvertent and was an, quote, unfortunate part of the process that is built into the campaign structure. That would be Chris Kise. Giving defendant the benefit of the doubt, he still violated the gag order, citing a case about violating gag orders. The judge continued as follows. Further, whether intentional or the result of mere campaign structure negligence, the judge putting that in quotes, almost laughing about it, the effect of the post on its subject, that's his law clerk, is unmitigated by how or why it remained on Donald Trump's website for 17 days. Moreover, a defendant may not evade liability for violating a court order by asserting that the violation was a result of the actions of one or more of the defendant's employees or agents. He's responsible, in other words. In the current overheated climate, incendiary untruths can, and in some cases already have, led to serious physical harm and worse. Donald Trump has received ample warnings from this court, the judge went on in his order, as to the public or possible repercussions of violating the gag order. He specifically acknowledged, that's Donald Trump himself, in the courtroom to the judge, that he understood and would abide by it. Accordingly, issuing yet another warning is no longer appropriate. This court is way beyond the, quote, warning stage. Given defendant's position that the violation was inadvertent, and given that it is a first-time violation, okay, let me comment here. First-time violation for this. This court will impose a nominal fee, $5,000, payable to the New York Lawyers Fund for Client Protection within 10 days of the date of this order. But here's the warning shot. It's not even a warning shot. This is the line in the sand for the judge. This is the red letter aspect of the order. His final paragraph. Make no mistake, the judge wrote. Future violations, whether intentional or unintentional, will subject the violator to far more severe sanctions. And so that you don't have to imagine what they would be, the judge said in his order, which may include but are not limited to steeper financial penalties, holding Donald Trump in contempt of court, and possibly imprisoning him pursuant to New York Judiciary Law, Section 753, for contumacious conduct. So the judge rapped him on the knuckles, took Keiss at his word that the violation by the campaign was inadvertent, and then said, I'm going to give you a $5,000 fine now. The next time, and he named him. We want to talk about doxing and naming. The Judge Engoron doxed and named Donald Trump. He said, and next time, Donald Trump could be jailed for a finding of contempt if it ever happens again. And none too pleased, Judge Engoron, New York State Supreme Court. He's got a lot of experience with Donald Trump and his shenanigans and those of his lawyers. Last year, during fighting over Donald Trump failing to produce documents and his organization failing to produce documents, as Alina Habba was pummeled repeatedly in court by the New York Attorney General for their foot dragging in producing documents, the judge fined the Trump organization and Donald Trump $10,000 a day. That fine got up to about $110,000 for that bad behavior. And the judge made it be clear that while it's a limited gag order, he will consider other more elaborate gag orders. Now we have Judge Chutkin, who in the D.C. Circuit Court, the D.C. Court federal election case brought by Jack Smith, was very mindful and aware of what happened with Judge Engoron when she issued her order gagging Donald Trump from using violent rhetoric against anybody in particular, specifically naming them as part of the justice system that has his liberty in their hands, including the judge. The judge said out loud in her hearing that she was very concerned about the reporting she had read about Judge Engoron issuing the gag order because there was an attack on one of his staff. Now, because, her staff is doing a good investigative set of reporting and due diligence about everything in Donald Trump's world, they now know down in D.C. that Judge Engoron just fined and warned Donald Trump that he could be jailed if it happens again because, he can't be trusted with making representations to a court about his actions or conduct. That's also the subtext here. Donald Trump can't be trusted when he's asked point blank himself, not through his proxies or attorneys, in a courtroom by a judge wearing a black robe. He'll lie to that judge, or he'll mislead the judge, or through omission, or through laziness, or he didn't make the right phone calls, or maybe it's true he's losing his fastball and he didn't realize he had doxed her everywhere, the principal law clerk, and forgot where they were. But that's why you pay people around you, isn't it? I thought that's why you have staff that you're supposed to be administering and managing as part of running a campaign, right? Isn't that one of the signs of somebody that's supposed to be successful at becoming a president is how you run your campaign? You can't remember which person you doxed and violently attacked and where it's located on your social media, and nobody's keeping track of that for you, so that you stand up in front of a judge and tell him off the record, meaning it wasn't perjury because it wasn't a sworn statement, but it's ever so close to that. I'm sure the next time Donald Trump's in the courtroom and the judge asks him a question, he's going to make him swear in and do it on the record and have it be a statement under oath that could lead to a perjury charge, because he's now been misled already once by Donald Trump. And all the other judges that are presiding over cases involving Donald Trump will now be aware that Donald Trump can't be trusted. You got to put his hand on a Bible, so to speak, get him under oath, have him testify so that you can start taking the appropriate progressive discipline and punishment and sanctions against him for acting out violent behavior, bad behavior, contempt behavior in their courtrooms. It builds on it, right? Each judge doesn't have a data dump and a lobotomy about what happened in their own case, related cases, or in cases around the country involving the exact same defendant. The history is watching. The eyes are watching. And now we've just seen from Judge Engoron, who, seems to maybe like the MeidasTouch network. We'll just leave it at that. You do the math. MeidasTouch network breaks the story. Very soon thereafter, Judge Engoron, staff, and others find out about it, and it becomes the subject of a hearing. We're going to keep doing that kind of investigative reporting and legal analysis one place, on the YouTube channel for the MeidasTouch Network and on the website for MeidasTouch, www.meidastouch.com. Hang out there. You see all of our content written by our newsroom, by our investigative reporters, by our writers, by our podcasters, and those that do hot takes regularly at the intersection of law, politics, and justice, like me, Michael Popok, co-host and co-founder of Legal AF, the leading podcast devoted to law, politics, and justice, exclusively on the MeidasTouch Network. We do it Wednesday nights at 8 p.m., Saturday nights at 8 p.m., and then hot takes about every hour or every half hour on law and politics U.S. style. We bring our collective 75 years of legal experience into the mix to give you that analysis and bring you stories just like this one. If you like this one, give me a thumbs up, leave a comment. It helps with the algorithm and the ratings for the entire network. Free subscribe to the MeidasTouch Network. They're ever so close to reaching 2 million. Help them get there. The bigger they are as a grassroots network, the more your voice is heard. So until my next hot take, until my next Legal AF, this is Michael Popok reporting on Judge Engoron, warning Donald Trump the next false step he takes, the next lie he makes to his court could lead to contempt and jail related to the violation of the gag order in place in New York in the fraud case brought by the Office of Attorney General.
Hey, Meidas Mighty, love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.